We have breaking news. Members of Congress from Michigan, they are right there speaking. Dan Kildee, he has just gotten out with Mary Barra of General Motors.
Message that we want to have a bias much more in favor of U.S. production. And when it comes to the country that stepped up when the company needed help, we were there. And we feel like there's a unique and special obligation to make sure that as the company moves forward that we invest in American workers. And I'll just say this. I know the Senator and Congresswoman have something to say. We support the industry and we support the company, but I know in my case, it's because of the workers. And if that's the measure that matters to me, whether or not American workers who help build this industry are going to have a chance to continue to work in it. And anything else, obviously, might be important to the company in the future, but it's the workers of the company that we're concerned about. Senator?
I represent the factory that's going to be shut down. There's immediate impact to that community. Hamtramck is a small community, and the city of Detroit. What we talked about today is what's going to happen to the workers, and that's my number one concern. Are we going to retrain them? Are there going to be opportunities for transfers? And the one thing that we said is that we felt the way that this was released was unacceptable, and it was not one that showed any compassion for the workers. We in this country, the government and taxpayers, bailed out GM. And one thing that I expect as a member of Congress and representing these workers who are losing their jobs is some form of compassion and outreach to these employees to transition them through. I had one of the workers who said their daughter was at school and the kids were laughing at her and say, ha, 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 your dad's losing his job. How are you going to have Christmas? We have to have some compassion about these workers. I want GM to be successful. Their headquarters is in my district. And I think that GM need to hear from us that we need to move forward and take care of the workers.
Let me just join with colleagues in stressing that the number one thing we talked about today were the people that are losing their jobs and our concern about them and their futures. We have the best trained workforce in the world. We have people now that can go into other jobs and be connected for other current jobs. There are those that need to be retrained for other kinds of jobs and opportunities. But all of that must be the top priority. Other job openings in General Motors are being talked about. We need to make sure that our people are the top priority for that as well. The second thing is a very strong message we sent about future decisions and investments being made in Michigan. I mean, obviously, we want those in the United States, but we want those in Michigan. When decisions are made about a new product or expanding a product line, we want those workers and that expansion to be in Michigan. And that was our very strong message to Mary Barra.
I'm just going to concur with my colleagues. Really, the focus of today's meeting with Mary Barra was to stress to her that as you have excess capacity, that should be filled by products that are being brought from Mexico. Right now, we have a number of Mexican plants that are operating at full capacity. Some of them are actually operating over capacity or have 3 shifts. We have factories in the United States now that are operating at less than full capacity, and that production should be coming back to the United States. American workers are the best workers in the world. We have the highest productivity, and even when you look at the wage differentials between Mexico and the United States, you still get more productivity with American workers. General Motors is an American company. That means they should hire American workers, and whenever there is an opportunity to move production from SUVs and others that are being made in Mexico, that production needs to come back to the United States. There was a recent decision to make the new Chevy Blazer in Mexico. They moved production for that Blazer to a factory in Mexico that had excess capacity, whereas we had excess capacity in the United States. Chevy Blazer should be made in the United States with American workers. We made that very clear to Mary Barra, and we hope in the future, whenever there are those kinds of decisions to be made, American workers are always put first.
Let me follow up on that, because we want GM to succeed. We want it to succeed really with American workers. So I gave Mary Barra these facts. These are the 4 plants that GM has in Mexico. Toluca, they pay $2.80 an hour. Ramos, $1.90 an hour. San Luis Potosí, where I was some months ago, $1.80 an hour. And $2.17 at Silao. In each of these cases, GM has a so-called protection agreement with a so-called union. Workers have 0 rights and 0 roles to play. So you have essentially a lure to move where workers are making a couple bucks an hour. And the main point is it affects jobs and wages in the United States of America. And so it's been said the majority of the vehicles that are now exported from Mexico to the U.S. by General Motors are trucks and SUVs. They're not small vehicles. And so I think what's happened, and I'll finish with this, it's very clear. Why was the GM decision, why did it have such an immense reaction in the United States? It's because the way the structure has been, it's been very profitable to leave the United States and to go to Mexico. And the workers there are paid almost nothing compared to workers here. So with NAFTA, if this issue is not resolved, it's my belief, having worked on this issue for 35, 36 years, I don't think the renegotiated NAFTA will pass. Everybody needs to face up to this, the administration, the Congress, and the companies, because I think if you don't like tariffs, make sure there is some kind of decent foundation for competition with workers not being paid a couple dollars an hour, while workers here are struggling to stay in the middle class.
I mean, the U.S. Congress didn't step up to save the American auto industry in order to protect jobs in Mexico. We did it for American workers, and they ought to be the beneficiaries.